and welcome back to the It's a Girl Thing podcast. It's me, Kate, and we're here for another day, another chit chat, and another you and me session. And I'm really excited today. We missed out on last week's little chit chat, but that was because I had been so busy with my holidays and traveling that I had driven back and then had to do all my big adulting life things like doing my groceries and getting reset up and unpacking. So we unfortunately missed out on that little chit chat, but hopefully this week's episode will make up for that. Plus, at least we had Coco Confessions during the week. So if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. I'm Kate. I'm an 18-year-old who's taking on the world for the first time. I'm from New Zealand and I'm currently studying medical imaging at university, and I hope you just find your place here. We are a small community, but I love each and every one of you, and I'm so excited to have you here for another week. If you've been here a while, welcome back. So glad you're here for another day. And yeah, I hope you're enjoying it, and if there's anything you want to hear me talk about, anything I'm missing, feel free to send me a message and let me know. Now, if you're loving the show, I really do ask that you leave a rating on your favourite streaming platform, because that can make all the difference for new people finding our little community. Now let's get into it. So first we have a little life update from me. It's my first week back after a 2-week holiday, and I may have taken the word holiday a little too seriously to the point where I had an assessment that was supposedly due this week that I barely touched while I was in the holidays. Luckily I have finished it now, but I was in a little bit of a panic mode for a few days there. Also, do ignore my voice. I'm a little bit run down and got a little bit of a scratchy sounding throat, so my voice may sound a little bit different this week. What else? First week back, I had a test on Friday, and that did not go as well as I hoped, but it's okay. I think I've passed, and honestly, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. My parents came and visited this weekend, which was really nice. It was kind of a spontaneous visit, so it wasn't planned. They were coming down to do something in my town, and I got to spend some time with them, which was really nice, even though I only saw them last week. But I'm glad that they've headed back home now, and so we get to have our little time together. I get to spend a little bit of time with myself before I head into another week. I have also done something which is huge for me, and it doesn't sound huge to every other person, but I got a gym membership. And if you've been here for a while, you know I struggle with quite a lot of anxiety, which often has put me off doing so many things that I've wanted to do before. And one of them was being able to go to the gym, because I know there's gym anxiety, but then on top of that I just have my generalized anxiety about doing new things and new places with new people, where there's the ability to be judged and all that. But I finally did it, and I'm going to a gym that's got a Pilates studio as well, which has got reformer classes, but they have these really cool screens, so you can do a digital Pilates class on the reformers, but you don't have to be at the same time when there's an instructor and a full class going on. There might just be one or two of you in the studio at once, which has actually been so good for my anxiety to help me get started, get into the flow of things before I look at booking in for the instructed class. So I just wanted to celebrate that little win with you, that I have put myself out there. I've got the gym membership, and I've actually went 3 times last week. Well, this week. So if you're struggling to do something because of your anxiety, it might be time to challenge it. One step at a time. For me, the first step was actually getting the membership. The second step was going and picking it up. And it was a whole nother step to actually get in and use it. So take those steps. Now, this week we're talking about friendships. Because I personally feel like friendships are such an important part of our being. And I, like all of us, have had mixed experiences with friendships. We've had good ones, bad ones, fake ones, rude ones, mean ones. You've had everything. at some point in your life. And hey, if you haven't had them yet, they will come, because it is inevitable. It is just a part of life. I've got my little notes planned out, so ignore me when I'm just chilling. It's just to keep me on track so I don't end up going down on a whole little spiral. But my friendships across the years, I've had friends that I've had since I was little. I've got friends who I've met at different ages of schooling. So like some from primary, some from intermediate, some from high school, some from university. And that's cool too. I've got friends that are connections through family. I've got family friends through my parents. But they've all got like different levels of friendship, you know? Like, it sounds really bad, but in my mind, everything in life is a bit of a hierarchy. Doesn't mean one's necessarily better than the other, but it means they've got different like priority levels in your life. So we're going to talk about 3 things today. We're going to talk about real friends, because after all, real friends are hard to find. Fake friends, how you can spot a fake friend, how you deal with it, how you move on, and how not to let it hurt you. Because all of this is about making you better, making you feel better, being well supported, having a good support system. And following these will help you. And then we're going to talk about making friends, which I feel like everybody just assumes is so easy. So I want to talk about that. But let's get started with talking about real friends. So we all have friends that we think of when we hear real friends, or at least I hope you do. And if not, hey, number 1, I'll take that number 1 spot until you find somebody better. But I want you to think about what in your mind makes a real friend. What in your mind makes a friend a friend? What qualities do they show? How do they treat you? Because I'm going to talk about my friends, especially the friends that I've made here. And I have a lot of driving anxiety, which we've talked about previously, which is great. Well, not great. Great that I'm getting over it. And we all had our holidays. So I was driving home for the 2 weeks, and they were driving. There was a group of 3 of my friends who were driving home. They were like carpooling back to where they are from. And they all know that I get very anxious driving, and it was my first time driving home by myself, and it was a longer drive than I'd ever done. There was like windy roads. I was stressed, and they knew that. And what's really nice was that they told me that I could call them at any point on the drive. That they gave me the number of one of the girls who wasn't driving, and told me that I can call them and they'll just keep me company, which was absolutely lovely. But what makes that even more special was on the drive back to my uni town, was that one of the girls, I was actually already 45 minutes into my drive home, but she messages me going, "Hey, we've just left. Call me if you need us." I didn't even have to tell her anything. I didn't even have to say anything. She didn't even know when I was leaving. But she put that out there, and I've never felt so seen. And it's like that saying, to be known is to be loved. And at that moment I felt very loved. So that's one way in my thing that I have seen, well, that's the quality of a real friend. Other things that might make a real friend are people who aren't going to force you to change to fit in with them. Friends who accept you exactly as you are. Friends that lift you up, not put you down. I get that we think lots of these things are just expected, but do they really just happen? Because I personally don't feel like every friendship I've had, they've lifted me up more than they've put me down. And that's sucky, because nobody wants to be put down by people they consider their friends. And I think it's important that we start to learn how to identify who our real friends are, because then we can also put more energy into real friendships as opposed to fake friendships. Because why would you give to something that's not giving to you? Zoom zoom goes a car. Anyway, how are you to know who your real friends are if you don't start looking at it further, if you don't start analysing it? So I've started to look into it, and I'm glad I have, because it tells me who I am grateful for, who I need to be spending more time with, and it shows me who I need to be wary of, because if they aren't fitting into that real friend criteria, then maybe I need to be looking at them going, well, are they a real friend, or are they just not just there yet? Are they someone I need to spend a bit more time with to get to know, to see if they are? Or are they someone you've kind of automatically gone, well, they're not a real friend and I don't ever think they're going to be? I like to think of friends in, like the TV show, that people come into your life for a reason or a season. I know, we're a poet and we didn't know it, but I really do think that you'll have people in your life that'll only come for, say, primary school, intermediate, or your friends that you'll only make through dance, or through a sport, or through church. You'll have friends that come into your life for that season. Like sports, if you play sport for a season, you might have friends for that, but after that you guys might not be friends anymore. If you're someone who does theatre, you might make really good friends with someone while you're doing a show, but then you'll barely talk to each other afterwards. Or people might come into your life for a reason. It could be to be an incredible friend and show you what you deserve, but at the end of the day they're not the right person for you. It could be that they're there to teach you a lesson. Maybe they're there to teach you to be wary. I really hope they're not there to be teaching you to be wary, but at the end of the day, people come into your life for so many different reasons, and it's our job to work out what they are. Fake friends. I don't particularly like talking about fake friends, but I do because I like you guys to be aware. I like me to be aware, because I don't want to be let down, and I don't want to be in pain because of friendships. And I think friendships, we spend so much time going, but I've known them since I was 5, so they've got to be a real friend. Or I've been friends with them since I was 5, but only in the last year they've changed. But I think what we've forgot to do is accept the fact that we're all changing, especially in this period of life we're in. Wherever we've been, wherever we're going, we're going to keep changing. And that means our likes, our dislikes, it means our personalities, and sometimes a personality that just meshes just like this suddenly doesn't. If one person changes, or if both people change, you might find that you actually just don't fit anymore. It's about the people who walk into your life. I'm quoting people. I don't even know who I'm quoting, but I've heard these quotes before. It's about the people who you may not have known very long, but walked into your life, and instead of telling you they're here for you, they proved it. And I think that's so important to remember. But fake friends are anybody who makes you feel worse about yourself. They're a friendship where you give more than you get. But I think you'll have friendships where you do give a little bit more than you get, even with real friends. But especially with fake friends, you might give them your everything. You might be wanting to spend all your time with them, and you might want to be their everything too, but they're only giving you half what you gave them. That's when you've either got to decide that you want to keep that friendship, but you're only going to, then you need to start just putting in what they're putting in, because it's not worth giving yourself to someone who's not wanting to give themselves to you. Yes, that does make sense. Well, that's reassuring. There's a point where you have to learn to let go, and it's a point nobody ever really wants to have to reach. But I'm going to use an example for you. I had a friend I went to primary school with. I think we met each other when we were about 6, and we were like really good friends through primary school. She was one of my closest friends all through primary school. Then we ended up moving to the same intermediate, but we were in different classes and we were in different friend groups, and our intermediate was a lot bigger. So her and I drifted apart, and I didn't really talk to her. Like, we were still like, if we saw each other, we'd say hey. We could sit together or play together if our classes were doing sports and stuff together, but we didn't like hang out like we used to. And then we got to high school, and we both went to the same high school, and we got put in the same classes, and we became really good friends again. It was like no time had passed at all. Until we got to about year 12, year 13, so our last couple of final years, but especially year 13. And she'd changed a lot. I changed. Even, I'll admit, I 100% changed through high school. I also found God in high school, and I became Christian in 2021. And so that changed who I was. That also changed who I wanted to be associated with. And I'm not saying that automatically meant I wanted to be associated with different people, but it meant that I included more people into my life that I didn't usually hang out with because of my new avenues at my church and things like that. But this friend that I had, she had always been a good friend, and I was like, well, she's my friend because I've known her so long. And then she started to do a few things that actually I wouldn't consider what a friend did. I had my first big breakup. Actually, I had my first breakup in my year 13 year. And then we had our school ball, and she sent my ex, because I was still talking to him, we were still friendly, we ended on good terms, a photo of her that was kind of quite mean. Like a Snapchat of her that was quite mean. And I didn't realise at the time that this had been sent, because I'd also sent him a message saying I wish you'd come out with everyone for the ball. And so I saw the delivered, and I just assumed that that was mine. And then in the morning, there's a whole drama blowing up, people are mad, I'm blocked on everything. And it was when my mum told me that actually a real friend wouldn't do that. A real friend wouldn't be mean like that. She wouldn't butt in. She wouldn't screw with that. Like, there's one thing to make jokes, but it's another thing to actually say things to people. And you've really got to think before you act. I definitely don't always think before I act, but I really should. But that was only the tip of the iceberg. I was like, oh, it's a one-off thing. It was kind of a joke. She'd sent him a kind of a joke that we'd been making anyway, just between me and a couple of the girls. And so maybe she thought it was okay to do because I'd been part of that joking. But obviously, in my opinion, it was not. But he also knew that I would never say anything like that. And we are really good friends now, so he and I are. He's like my best friend. And then what was worse was I ended up dating another guy about 6 months later. And she didn't like him for personal reasons. And she made that very clear. But what I'd also found out from the guy I was now dating, because he had different friend connections, and some of his mates were really good friends with her. And I found out that in fact she'd actually been talking about me behind my back. She'd called me a fake friend, she'd said that I did this and I was needy and desperate and all these things that I personally don't consider myself to be. And it was at that time where I went, actually, no, this isn't a friend. No real friend would speak about you like that. So if someone is talking behind your back, that is your very first sign that they are not a real friend. If they are saying mean things about you, if they are putting you down, if they are making you feel bad about being the wonderful person that you are, then that is a them problem. That is where you need to learn that it is okay to let somebody go. It's always really hard, especially when you've known somebody forever and you've seen them at their best, but you've also seen them at their worst, to actually let go. But coming from my experience, it is so much better to actually just let them go, because at that stage they're not worth your time anymore. They don't deserve you. Let's go on to making new friends, because making new friends is difficult. It's so easy when you're younger because it's like, oh, let's just go play on the playground together, or do you want to help me with my artwork? Like, there's so many little things as kids that we take for granted. because we're little kids and it's just normal and it's easy to play and it's easy to do that. But as someone who's now in the adult world, high school is even a little bit easier because you get put together in classes and you get assigned seating and you're kind of forced to talk to each other. And then you've got common things because you've got sports and house events and teachers that you can bond over. But it gets harder when you're in the adult world because you've got, yes, the people you're doing your course with, the people you live surrounding. But then you've actually got to go out and find friends. And that's hard. So my easiest ways to making new friends are, what interests do you have? Where could you go to make friends who might share that same interests? If you're into a specific sport, is there a social club or a social team you can join to make friends who have similar interests to you? Are you someone who likes going to the gym? Then go to the gym, or do Pilates classes, or do yoga, or go to dance. Find open classes and get to know some of the people there. You'll never be surprised at the friends you might make. For me, I went to a new church and I've started to meet people there. Like everything, it's always going to be intimidating to begin with. Everything is always intimidating and hard until you just take those first steps and you just get started. Unfortunately, as much as I hate saying this as a girl with anxiety, you've got to put yourself out there. You can't. Personally, I sat in my new church that I really like going to. I sat kind of in an isolated spot, hoping that people would come talk to me, but also hoping people wouldn't come talk to me, but being disappointed when no one came to talk to me because I was sitting on my own, kind of isolated off to the side. But why did I expect them to? They didn't need me. They didn't know me. They had no obligation to come and talk to me. If you want to meet new people, sometimes you do actually have to put yourself out there and go say, "Hi, I'm such and such. And who are you? Where are you from? What do you do?" You've got to get to know people. And personally, I think it's like finding the right pair of shoes. Some people just won't fit. They won't fit with you. You might think from the outside they look like the right people, but when you actually get to know them, you're like, actually, there's some big flaws in our beliefs and our morals, or our personalities just are too similar that we clash, or they're too different that we clash. It's okay to be acquaintances with them and not be really good friends with them. And it's okay to keep trying to find your people. Because in my class, I got to know a huge group of girls. And it wasn't necessarily the girls that I, in my mind, mentally gravitated towards that have ended up being my real and close friends. Doesn't say I wasn't drawn to them, but it was to say that they weren't necessarily the first people I got to know. The first group of people you get to know, or the first person you get to know, is not going to be the last person you get to know. And I want you to remember that. So don't be scared to try and find the right fit. You've got time. We've always got time to keep going. So let's summarize. What makes a real friend? That's something I need you to keep thinking about. And then look around you. Who are your real friends? And then from that, how can you find out which ones of your not real friends are either getting there or are fake friends? And if they're a fake friend, is it time to let them go? Making friends? What are your interests? Where could you go to find new friends? What can you do to find new friends? And do you even want to make new friends right now? Don't isolate yourself, but don't force yourself to be social all of the time. And finally, if you feel somebody else in your life could benefit from hearing our little chats, or even just benefit from a specific episode, please, please, please go tell a friend. I think so often it's hard because you feel like somebody's got the secret to success and they're not willing to share it. So if you know somebody who might benefit from our little conversations weekly, or might just need a place to go and a place to hear somebody's voice tell them that everything's okay, they are welcome here. And finally, I just want to give you a couple minutes of bestie hyping, because that is exactly what I'm here for. I am your online bestie, and I want to exaggerate that, and you don't have to think of me as one, but I'm here if you ever choose that you need one. Because you're wonderful, you're amazing, and you're made in the image of God. And that is incredible. Especially if you're in New Zealand or the Southern Hemisphere and you're going into winter, that seasonal depression is so likely to kick in. Well, at least if you're anything like me. And if you love the colder seasons, please share with us, summer and light season girlies, what you do to get through and what you love about it, because sometimes we spend so much time looking at the downsides that we don't look at the upsides. And that goes for looking at yourself. Stop putting yourself down. Start lifting yourself up. Because you are worthy, you are good enough, and you are here. You're alive. And we always take that for granted. So I hope you have the best rest of your day, a great coming week, and just take care of yourself. Thank you for being here.